so many people have been asking the same question and have shown so much interest to understand why I have taken the move, or rather transpositioning myself from the opposition to the ruling party. Let me say I did not join the people. I joined Zanu-PF as a party. And Zanu-PF is made up of many members. Therefore, to say that I joined people who were tormenting me or people whom I played political soccer with in the past, perhaps I put it aside. I joined Zanu-PF and what it stands for. And especially the current Zanu-PF as it is transacting business, political business, and leading the government in Zimbabwe, which we all call the new dispensation. So, yes, I moved, but I did not join an individual. I joined the party called Zanu-PF. Which party was there around the time I was born? Which party I became a member when I was an adult? Which party I left in the 1990s together with other trade unionists of names, and which party we ditched out when we formed MDC in 1999 together with more than 40 civil society organizations and with the leadership of the late Morgan Richard Twangrai, Gibson Sibanda, Isaac Matongo, to name but just replacing the current government. Oh, my friend, we were better off in 2008 and even before 2018 with the old government then. The chances were high. But now, like I said earlier on, with the current government, with the current administration, with the effort that they are putting, with tangible things that we can point at and touch, the chances are very slim. Not only that, look at what is going on in the opposition camps. Oh, some of us really regrets having been with those comrades in the past as colleagues. You would think that those people have never been to college. Let me tell you what I said earlier on off camera. I said I don't have the vocabulary in my language of denigrating people. But I tell you what is happening in the opposition leaves a lot to be desired. You would not think, you'd think that they are not the same people that we were together with when they were projecting themselves as people who have been to college. But what is happening now? Especially if I think around the issue of saying majority of them, they are in the class of the so-called learned people, lawyers, economists, and so forth. But what is going on there? It's really unfortunate. To start with, to rally behind him and go forward, because he is there demonstrating. So the past, if we look at the past, let's avoid looking at the negative things. Otherwise, we have a mind that dwells in the past negatives and will not look in the future positivity that we want to see taking Zimbabwe forward. I have no doubt Zanu-PF have the chance to win both the Kwekwe Central and Biso. And I was saying the other day, yes, I'm going to work to make sure that we achieve that which we target to have the 2 seats going back to Zanu-PF. And therefore it's confident that is leading me to that. And again, I'm also looking at those that we are competing with Zanu-PF, representing Zanu-PF, parties and individuals. And when I assess them, I see that they don't have the stamina to win against Zanu-PF. And this is what gives me confidence. And obviously I'm going to work hard personally, and I know the other comrades in Zanu-PF are going to work hard. I know their side they will do their best, but given the current scenario, the environment, and what I see of them, and what I see of the obtaining situation on the ground, I don't see them standing a chance. Look, there are 3 parties so far that I have seen, fielding their candidates. Zanu-PF, both in Biso and Kwekwe Central, MDCT, and the now 2-week-old CCC, which is not a party in my view the way I'm assessing it. Its intention is to be a party, but so far it's not a party. They can't stand the deaf and say, this is whom we are. I don't think there are people, I don't think people of Kwekwe are going to be fooled by that kind of arrangement. I don't know. But I have confidence that Zanu-PF is going to. With the new dispensation, what is right for any sane human Zimbabwean to do? Why should they continue to fight against the policies that we advocated for in 1999? These are Zimbabweans who are advocating for good things to happen, the good policies, implementing good intentions. Even when you talk about issues of corruption, which we of us lamented and demanded that we want to see it being addressed, they started to address that. Then I said, why don't we give chance? Why don't we support? Why don't we come together and do that with them? Zimbabwe is one, my friend. God-given country called Zimbabwe will never be multiplied. It is only one. And each one of us live only but once. And if you have an opportunity like this one of working together with others to try and put together ideas and take Zimbabwe forward for the betterment of future generations, then let it be. It's not a question of continuing to fight and say we oppose for the sake of opposing and then do what? At the end of the day, nothing. The generation that are for future, they need to see things having been shaped better going forward. And this is why I took this position, to support the current government, the new dispensation. And I believe I made the right decision. And underlying that, I went public. But last year, around this time, to be precise, it was February, on 24th February, I came out in the open to say that I have moved Zanu-PF. I want to underline in the open, publicly, as it were. I informed the nation that I have moved from MDC to Zanu-PF, and I gave my reasons, which I want to reiterate. After the changes that took place in 2017, which changes many people, many Zimbabweans supported, to replace the administration then led by Mugabe, the late. A lot took place in terms of how Zanu-PF restructured itself, in terms of how Zanu-PF approached the issues of governance, in terms of how Zanu-PF put in place efforts to address the issues as per the demands of many Zimbabweans. I want again to underline the fact that put in place to try and address the issue of intention, demonstrated or illustrated, to say this is the intention that we want to do. This is what we are going to do, and taking first steps. I saw that they resonated with what we stood for as MDC in 1999, with what we demanded from 1993 upwards as the labor movement, when we said we want to see tangible policies being put in place, not only being put in place, but being transacted so that they achieve that which is intended to be achieved. And when we saw that, not only myself, but even the other leadership, including the late leaders of MDC, this is why we went even in the streets to support the idea of removing the old guard, the first dispensation, to say, no, let's all rally behind the effort that were being put in place to try and chart a way forward for Zimbabwe with the administration that was responding to the needs of the people. Down the line, then came this new administration, and that was in 2021 last year, when I realized, together with others, that yes, the efforts being put in place were as per our demand in the first place as opposition. I said to myself, this is an opportunity, and this is what we saw and advocated for in 2017, and this is what even the late icon of the opposition also supported. Of course, it was not like going in the open and saying, this is what we are supporting. But people saw, when multitudes of Zimbabweans in Harare, as you know, Harare was a stronghold of the opposition, went into the streets and supported. So I said to myself, with what was happening in the MDC, freely and tell the people the facts. Look, Zanu-PF is doing quite a lot as a government in terms of development through their National Developmental Strategy 1 and the 2 that is coming after 2025 to take us to 2030. The things that I have mentioned earlier on, which are not just promises, are there for the people to see. Why should somebody who is sane want to disconnect by voting somebody who does not have a connection with the policies that are doing good for the country, doing good for the constituents, doing good for the people themselves? And get what? A representative who comes is not connected, does not have a way of linking with those very good policies that are being channeled, developmental as it were. If people are told the truth, then they should reason and say, oh, what is important is for us to support that which is bringing good development for the future of ourselves and our kids. Let me say this, I'm speaking for myself. The way I see things, I'm not a CC member. Since they did away with MDC, I can't claim that I know much, other than what I'm hearing from them when they stand in, when I say that in the public, other than what I'm hearing, other than what I'm reading, and which is true, especially if I take the last party, the address that was done by the owner, if I may say, of CCC, because currently it's just one person. You've said that in public himself. And again, I wanted to underline, I am not trying to attack him or denigrate him, but I'm saying what he said, and I'm a Zimbabwean who has the right also to unpack as I see things, where he stands, and the way that he's doing things that are good for himself or the Zimbabwean people. He wakes up and says, I have formed a party called CCC. I have ceased to be connected to the past of MDC. The likes of those who are gone, the Trangrais, the Gibson Spanders, and the lot. I try to raise my mind to the pioneers of MDC, who were 12 members. And I remember their meeting place was a place called St. Andrew's House in Harare, Kona Samora Machel and Leopold Tagawera. Second floor, which used to be the offices of the Zimbabwe Chemicals and Allied Workers Union. And my office, having been the national chairperson of that union, was being used extensively for the purposes of strategizing the formation of MDC. He has connected that. He has said, no, I don't have anything to do with that. The ideology, the founding principles, the ideas, the values, the constitution, the structures, everything that you can talk about, the colors, the slogans, he says no. And he said on last Sunday when he launched his campaign for by-election, I am the only person who is there. We have no structures. They shall come. I have no ideology, we will tell you. Now, here is a party that claims to be, but one person says, everything else is not there, it's me. I respect him as a former colleague, as a young man, we share in the totem, same totem, but to be honest with you, where does it leave us? Where does it leave Zimbabweans? Let me say again, opposition parties are needed. We are living in a world, in a world full of parliamentary democracies, but we need responsible opposition. We don't need confrontational opposition. We don't need destructive opposition. If you go to Botswana, you see how they are doing things. They compliment even the government. They try to outdo them during elections, but they do it in a way that is not destructive. But if somebody says, I am the only person, I have formed a party, yet you want to advance democracy. We have been championing the struggle for democracy. Where is it now? Where does it leave Zimbabwe? My young former colleague is riding on name popularity, which is not really akin to advocacy for democracy. Where does it leave us? Where does it leave Zimbabwean politics? Yes, it's his own right. Yes, the right of individuals who want to follow him. If I say tomorrow I wake up, my name is now Usbanda, not Moyo, it will not change anything. I will never be Usbanda. I will remain Moyo. If Zanu says tomorrow I'm Manchester United, it will never play like Manchester United. So if you say I'm CCC and I'm not connected to MDC of the past, to their values, to whatever, it will never change you. You remain what you were. It's only what you are saying that seems to have changed. And I'm surprised many Zimbabweans will say, yes, yellow, yes, CCC. What is there for you? 1 minute. I'm not attacking you, I want to underline. But I'm only explaining and analyzing what I'm seeing as shortcomings and shortfalls. I don't want to talk about what I hear others saying about what is utterance away regarding violence. Some of us, we were talking about the past. We don't want to see violence. We don't want to advocate for violence. We don't want leadership that says we'll go in the streets and do X, Y, Z, which is against the principles of peace. I would not do that. I've seen it. It's not good for the country. We don't want leaders who stand on the podium and say those kind of things. That's how I see of CCC. So far, it's a one-person band. He has said that himself. He has said he will come up with ideologies, tell people, then people will come and join you. Ah, really? Ameno. And this is the politics that turns in Zimbabwe. Democracy has been defeated. Full blast. Where there's a past member of the opposition, a founding member of MDC. To what extent am I related to the calling of sanctions in the past and currently? How do I see the sanction, whether they had the economy in the country? Let me say, in the founding documents of MDC, and what transpired later on, going forward, there was no such a time that the party sat down to say, we now have to take a position of calling for sanctions. I was in the executive from the onset. But again, I don't deny that the party, through its representatives, especially at the top echelon, were doing those kind of things. You know, the way political parties are arranged and the way decisions are made, sometimes it's not everybody who is on board of an issue. The leadership might say this without the partaking of the others. Sanctions were being called by the leaders. Sanctions were being crafted in a strategic way, and they will be connected to those that then will give sanctions. I personally was not in the top echelon in terms of the presidium, where sometimes things are cooked. And yes, sanctions were being called by the opposition, and they hate the country. They did damage the progression of the country, the development of the country. And still, we are still experiencing that. Because, to be honest with you, when a leader, regardless of what term you want to give to that, when a leader is said to be under targeted sanctions, the leader is the one who goes out to try and watch out for the country, to try and look for the country, to try and bring relationships for the country with other countries. And if you are on targeted sanctions, what it means is that you cannot go there. And when you don't go there, there's nothing that you are going to do. The relationship is now cut short because of the sanctions that somebody would have advocated for, which is not good. So yes, I don't think it was right, and it's still not right to go for sanctions. I gave you an example of Botswana and other countries. I've been to one, I've been to many countries. I've seen not agreeing with certain policies or how certain issues like human rights, yes, you want to call it in the past, would be handled. The opposition will breathe the fire upon the necks and throats of the current administration. But you cannot go and say, come and destroy our economy. Because the moment you do that in the form of calling for sanctions, it means even if it so happens, let me take things hypothetical and say, it happens that you are you form the next administration. What then are you going to do with everything that would have been destroyed? Last Sunday we had somebody saying, within 5 days when you vote me into power, the whites will be flooding Zimbabwe. Is that not an indirect way of saying I'm advocating and controlling certain things not to happen here in terms of relationship with other countries that are run by white people? That is still a contributory to calling for sanctions, and it's not good for the country. Some of us, even when we were there, we would say, well, it is being said by those who are senior to us, but is it good for us? To laugh and say, this one cannot go to this country, and so what? If you go there, you say, what do you bring for Zimbabwe? We want development, we don't want sanctions. Sanctions, they hurt Zimbabwe. They don't do good to Zimbabwe. And therefore, they affect even future generations, because development that would have been done today will not be there 10 years down the line because of sanctions. We need good relationship with other countries. We need to trade with all countries. If there are any issues for apportioned individuals, let's discuss them around that and try to convince each other that what we are doing is not good for the country. Let me say this. It's only a fool who would say there is no corruption in Zimbabwe. And this I will always stand and speak loud and clear. Corruption is not good. Corruption has been in Zimbabwe. Corruption is still in Zimbabwe. That I can stand for myself. But let me say again, with the new dispensation, my friend, we have seen for the first time in the life of Zimbabwe for the past 42 years, we have seen a serious business of addressing issues around corruption, of doing away with corruption. We have seen good intentions and doings through this new dispensation, through the ushering in of a very significantly working Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. We have seen the efforts of the Office of the President through SACU. We have seen the efforts of the NPC, the National Prosecution Authority, NPA. That have never happened in the life of Zimbabwe from 1980. And what am I saying? Yes, there are still issues of corruption taking place. At what effort are being put in place? This is a plus that we need to give. Not only corruption, the other issues that we talked about that are being addressed, that people have been complaining about. We are saying the efforts that are being put in place are efforts that one can stand up and say we need to support them because they are doing something. But things have not been done completely and achieved 100%. And it is not possible, we are all humans, it is not possible to really overcome those issues 100% overnight. But it is what is being put in place and the serious intention and serious efforts that are being put, that we are saying, yes, there is something that we can follow. And through those arrangements that have been in place, and through those ideas that could continuously come in, because here is an administration that is receptive to ideas. And I'm one of those, if you remember, I was an applicant for the current Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission. Of course, I was outside the country when the interviews took place. I was actually invited, but I was outside the country. I missed that because I have a passion. When I was a parliamentarian, I used to be a member of the APNAG, that is the African Parliamentary Network Against Corruption. I used to be a member of the Anti-Corruption Trust of Southern Africa. And therefore I have a vast experience and a passion to address issues of corruption. And I'm actually following what is happening now, and I see the good efforts of the administration. We need more efforts, of course, but they are doing what one can say, yes, we are taking the right course. And I think, I personally have got some ideas that I think one day, if I get an opportunity, I cannot preempt them here. I will factor them in. And I think because our current government and the president himself is very, very accommodative in terms of ideas that will be taken. But corruption, it has the economy, and corruption, you don't need it. And efforts that are being put in place, yes, they are there and they are doing wonderful wonders, but we have to do away with corruption, because corruption is a cancer that no Zimbabwean would want. We don't want corruption.